and welcome to another episode of the Quarantine Leadership Series. I'm Cameron Corder, and the Quarantine Leadership Series is designed to motivate, inspire, and just encourage leadership. Today, I'm joined by a few wonderful leaders, and we're going to talk about how we can better cultivate the gifts and the talents of young leaders in the Y movement. So let's start with some quick introductions. We'll start with you, Tyler.
Hey, yeah, Cam, thank you for that. My name is Tyler Jameson. I'm the Associate Executive Director at the West Cabarrus YMCA in Concord, North Carolina. I've been with the Y for 6 years now in various roles. Started as a sports director, then a senior program director, and now the Associate Executive Director. So I've started from that first level program director and kind of now worked my way up to the executive leadership. So got to see all aspects of the Y.
Good. What about you, Lisa?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Cam. I am Lisa Rigsby. I'm the Association Director of Community Health in Charlotte. So I support our 19 branches here in Charlotte. Specific focuses around chronic disease prevention, health equity, and food insecurity. Have been with the Y here in Charlotte almost 3 years. And then before here, I was in Western North Carolina, started as an intern, and then worked in membership, sports, and then in their nutrition outreach program before coming here to Charlotte.
Good stuff. Lachey.
Hi, I'm Lachey Leonard. I am the Digital Communications Manager with the YMCA of Metropolitan Dallas. I have been with the Y almost 7 years, working in the capacity of expanding our brand, communication efforts, social media, website, all that kind of greatness stuff. So thanks for having me.
And Piper.
Hey, I'm Piper Barnes. I'm the Director of the Annual Campaign and Marketing at the Cleveland County Family YMCA. I'm coming up on 2 years full-time, and I did about 2.5 years part-time in college with the family programs.
Great. So this for anybody, just jump in. Lisa, we'll maybe start with you. What inspires you to do your best and be at your best every day on the job?
Did you say start with me?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I just wanted to be sure. So I have a really exciting and interesting job in the way that I am not in the branch, but I'm more on the community side. And so I get to do a lot of our community benefit, community outreach work. And so I get to, this morning, actually physically see folks who are benefiting from the work that the other three of you do at your associations around the annual campaign, around brand awareness, and around, making sure our branches run smoothly. I get to be on the outward facing and make sure that families are fed in our community, and that they really see us as a resource. And so getting that, human to human interaction, even though it's pretty limited now, that's what keeps me going to make sure that we're doing what we need to do in strategy meetings, and in other parts of our Y.
What about you, Lachey? You're the non-East Coast, Southeast person here. You're Dallas. So what motivates and inspires you every day on the job?
Oh, that's a great question, because I think some of the things that Lisa said are those exact things, because I get the grand opportunity to see what everyone does, the impact, the outreach work, and I get a chance to tell our external audiences, those who are volunteers, those who have no affiliation with the Y at all, I get to share those exciting stories with them. So to be very honest, I think the stories and the work that the Y does kind of fuels anything and everything I do at my job. That really, truly does motivate me.
Tyler, you're then more in the branch. The other three kind of work corporately. What's your answer?
Yeah, so I mean, I think this year or last year really summed it up. The Y to me is more than just like brick and mortar. It's a sense of a community. When a lot of other organizations kind of shut down, the Y stepped up to that challenge, provided emergency childcare. They're able to feed those who needed help. Provide after school services or learning sites for children. So the more I've kind of grown in my Y career, the more I really understand why the Y is so important in the community and just a relationship that we have been able to just build with everyone, no matter who they are. I love our mission statement. The last 2 words, "for all," is probably the most important thing to any person that works in our association. And so knowing that we have an organization that puts their best foot forward every day, it makes me want to get up and try my absolute best to just make an impact in the community, because I know we truly do that. I work with youth programming and work in branch operations, and so I really see that outcome all the time and hear that positive feedback from parents and participants.
Lachey, how do we cultivate young leaders for a career in the Y? You're the veteran on this call with 7 years. So how do we cultivate young stars like you guys for a career in the Y, not just to stop, but for somebody like me who's got 30 plus years, how do we cultivate you for that?
That's a great question. It really does start with listening first. And it really comes down to listening to exactly what your young leaders are saying, and even reimagining what a young leader is. So from my standpoint, my Y career actually did start in a branch, and I was working front desk, and it was me telling my exec at the time and my senior program director at the time, here is what I want to do. If you ever see something dealing with social media or whatever the case may be, can you give me a shout out? Can you tell me that this is something that's coming down the pipe on a corporate level? And we should really be looking at young leaders, even in our team programming, right? We've got quite a bit of initiatives across the Y movement, like CDLI and things like that, but really looking at our teams and looking at at those who are just even, a lifeguard, and saying, have you ever thought about a long-term career with the Y? What would you like to do? And based off of what they say, show them that there is a path down the way for whatever they want to do. So I think that's really key, is listening to them first and then not hesitating to say, we'll try to find something for you.
Yeah. What about you? You're the newest, 2 years plus.
Did you say me?
Yeah. How do we cultivate young leaders?
Yeah, I mean, I think that you can do it on like a local and a broad level, but I think just sharing the legacy of the Y from beginning to present is so important. And then kind of sharing a vision for the future and giving them an idea of where they could play a role in that. I think it's a lot about storytelling, which is so big. That's what we do already. And so I think it is about that legacy and showing them, hey, this is where we're going. You could fit in great here. And then giving them opportunities to be a little more hands on deck and kind of fill it out. Yeah.
So Piper and Tyler are from what I would consider smaller branches, small to mid-size in our movement. Lisa, you and Lachey are from the largest Ys in the country. And so I'm curious a little bit of this dynamic. Let's go to you, Lisa. If you were in charge, how would you restructure to make work more productive and more enjoyable for employees?
It's a big question, Cam.
Yeah.
And
you got 32
Todd
seconds.
Pivots don't at me. But no, I think that we have done a lot of learning when it comes to how we operate as a Y, what we do, what we stand for, who we are during the time where we couldn't be who we've always been. And so I think we're still kind of reimagining what it's going to look like. I think to your earlier point of, how to continue to develop leaders, we're doing that by allowing some folks to work from home, by allowing flexible schedules, by allowing people to have a voice that maybe haven't had one before, and be able to come to the table in that way. And so I've worked with really dynamic leaders who took me seriously as an intern and then took me seriously as a part-time worker. They never saw me as just an intern or just a worker. They always saw me as someone with something to contribute. And so I think cultivating that with our youngest leaders, and then all the way through to senior leaders too, where everyone has a voice, everyone has an idea. I think that's where the magic happens. And it looks so different based on how teams are made up, based on how associations are made up. But how can we really benefit the community, bring the community voice in? And oftentimes that's through the folks that we're sitting next to, because we all come from such different places. And how do we honor that while honoring the way people work and then carrying the work forward?
Somebody else just jump in. If you could restructure, make work more enjoyable, make it more productive, what changes would you make? Tyler.
Yeah, I'm really thinking about that one. I mean, I think a lot of times the Y, they just kind of throw people in, and just you learn about trial and error, and you just you're baptized by fire. So I think providing those resources, and I think a lot of associations just with Link and just the networking that the Y has available, and even conversations like this, we're able to kind of just share our experiences, which will benefit those, who are in the younger generation. But I really think just allowing staff to really just have input, have a say, like, and even, we always invite our directors, even some part-time staff, to our board meetings, just, allowing them to listen in and see what's going on from the bigger picture. And I think Lachey said it earlier, just really listening to the input, because a lot of our staff have some great ideas, and sometimes as leaders, we're reluctant to change. But I think we as the Y, we're so different from 10 years ago and so different from 20 years ago. And so we need to be more flexible in understanding that, what we think may work is probably not the answer and probably won't work, because these people have a lot better ideas than we do. But again, I think the Y is just phenomenal as far as the flexibility goes, and just the understanding of, like, the social changes in the social environment, and what needs to happen to make employees happy. Because I look at a lot.
Excuse me, I can only speak for my Y, but I feel like here we are, an organization with 20 full-time staff, 250 to 300 part-time staff, but most of our energy goes toward the 20.
Right. Yeah.
As in resources and meetings and dialogue. And we've got to, and I don't know if this is a culture for the movement. I know it's a negative culture in my organization. I wish there was a way we could be more part-time centric. And what if we provided those kinds of resources, time, and leadership toward the people who, as y'all are saying, are on the ground running, delivering the programs and initiatives. And also, each of y'all came from the part-time world. And so we would develop more leaders too if we became part-time centric. Is that true? Any otherwise like that you may be more full-time centric than part-time?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think a lot of the feedback we get, and it's not a negative, but you hear a lot of times, like, it's top-down decision-making, but it has to be a two-way avenue. You got to have that input from those part-time and from those frontline workers. They're the ones who are in it every single day. And so we focus a lot on those, 20, we have 40 full-time staff. So we focus a lot on those 40 full-time staff, but we still have to hear those other 300 to 400 part-time staff, because they're just as important, if not more important.
I think there's some internal communication problem solving that can be done around that too, around how do we deliver information and then how do we receive information. If somebody has that figured out, bottle and sell it, because I think we're all kind of struggling with that even more, that we're not seeing everybody face to face and updates happen so quickly. And so I think internal communication breakdown is a real problem in the modern workplace. And so I think that's a problem to be solved, but I think it would benefit those part-time folks that we're talking about, and building stronger leaders when people just know what the heck is going on and how they can best contribute.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. Some of the things that we have also tried to work on here in Dallas is that internal communications, because we were noticing those same, we weren't getting those voices heard from part-time staff. So some of the things that we try to implement is town halls. Our association will host town halls that are, now we're more comfortable with Zoom, and we're more comfortable with Teams and things like that. And we see the accessibility for folks who may not even be working at the time, but they can just hop onto the town hall. They're able to hear from department heads, what's going on within the Y association, as well as we've implemented a question and answer session. So we, about 2 weeks before a town hall, we'll have where we can anonymously submit questions that you want the CEO to answer. And they're very, very real questions. They're questions that affect everyone on all levels, because you're giving folks the opportunity to anonymously say, this is a concern of mine. Can you answer this question for me? So I absolutely agree that, internal communications, as well as giving potentially part-time folks a chance or a place to network with each other. So opportunities like Emily with the Emerging Multicultural Leadership Conference, or something that we did here pre-COVID was we had an Unlock Your Future event that would happen every June, and we would invite all part-time staff to hear from different departments and show that, hey, we're here to talk to you. What career do you want? What do you want to do? But I think that internal communications piece, as well as giving them an opportunity to just talk to someone else that's not the direct supervisor or is not in their branch, it gives that regional or global kind of view, and it blows their mind as far as what is possible.
Really, really good stuff. We did our call the other night, and a skill set that I need from our younger staff is we need to do those calls almost like an award show. We're not good at Zoom, but the transition from person to person and splice in the video, and we actually did pretty good for rookies. Piper led that charge for us. So let's. I'm gonna jump back to you, Lisa, and then I'm gonna go to Piper. What's the best leadership advice you've ever received?
Ooh, the best leadership advice. Okay, I think I have two. The first one is never stop learning. And I think that goes for leaders young and old, just never stop learning. And the best way that I was taught to do that was really just over a cup of coffee. For those who are close to me know that I consistently have a cup of coffee in my hand. So I'm always up for a conversation over coffee. And just asking someone, hey, what are you doing really well right now? Or what are your gaps right now? And when you learn what other people are doing well, and you learn where other people's gaps are, you can either ask them to be part of your team to fill your gaps, or ask to be part of their team and fill their gaps. But it's a really honest conversation of not necessarily strengths and weaknesses, but what are you winning at? And then where are your gaps? So that's kind of the first one. And then listening, just listen first. I know that we all at the Y, that's kind of an internal catchphrase for us. And we all kind of laugh at each other when you're getting listen first. But when we really do take the time to listen, we know where we can do better or ask for help. And so those are kind of my two big ones.
What about you? Best leadership advice?
Yeah, I was trying to think about this before the call, and I think one that has stuck with me the most has been to add value in every dimension that you can, whether that's in the members, in the product, in the service, or in your teammates, or even your environment. And so actively doing that each and every day, finding a way to add value, even if it's like a small nugget or something really big one day, doing that consistently each and every day has been key for me.
Yeah, so I was going to go back on Lisa, like what she was saying. There's a great book. It's 1 Minute Manager, and it's just phenomenal. It's a short read, but it's checking in with your people and taking like 1 minute each day to kind of understand like what are their upcoming tasks, where they doing shortfall, or what are their shortfalls, what are they trying to accomplish that week, and it's a way to just connect with them, and it tells you what kind of feedback to give them with the circumstance. So Jamie Morgan actually gave me that book to read. Great book. But Extreme Ownership, it's a book by Jocko Willink. I don't know if you guys got to read it. He's a former Navy SEAL. It's pretty much just owning your mistakes, but also keeping that open line of communication and just being humble enough to know that I don't have all the answers. And so as a leader, you always feel like you need to be the face of everything, but at times you got to understand to take a back seat and let others step up and take ownership of what's going on, and it kind of creates that just like that unified front. But yeah, just showing up every day and continuing, even though some days may be harder than others, just if you continue to show up and just do the work, there will be success at the end of the tunnel, or the light at the end of the tunnel kind of thing. So
yeah, when I ask people, I host a group of CEOs every year. When I ask them what podcasts they listen to, they say me first and Jocko second. That's not true. His name came up a lot on his podcast. Lachey, again, is the veteran of this group, looking back at 7 years. So if you were to talk to the part-time staff that's hired week one on the job with the YMCA, what advice are you giving them? Tell them, what's the biggest lesson you've learned in your career?
I think it kind of encompasses a lot of what Piper, Tyler, and Lisa have said about, putting that best foot forward, always having value in the work that you're doing, because it's interesting going through this COVID experience, because I think before I probably wouldn't have said lean in on EQ as much as possible, and asking people, are they okay? Where can I help? How can I support? And I really, truly feel like putting your best foot forward and also adding that value, that is the most important leadership advice I've ever gotten.
I really appreciate all y'all this quick time together and the interactions. And so thanks so much for your time. I'm really impressed. I feel good about the future of our movement because y'all are the next wave and the next future leaders as we're going through. And we got a great pipeline, I think, in our YMCA. For everyone that's watched, thank you again. Don't forget to subscribe and make sure that you always lead with love. Thanks again.